name is Kevin Jackwitz. Welcome back to the cage match. This is kind of nice for me because it's the first time I've reasonably been on time with a wrestling review. It's the next day at least. And tonight for AEW Dark, I will be on time for sure. So this is Raw for January 6, 2020. You start out with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. Of course, Brock Lesnar doesn't say anything. Paul Heyman says Brock Lesnar is entering the Royal Rumble. He's going to be number 1 in the Royal Rumble, and he's going to beat everybody else and win. That's a spoiler. Here's my thing with that. It really seems like WWE just didn't know what to do with Brock Lesnar. They couldn't find a suitable opponent for him for Royal Rumble, so they just threw him in the Royal Rumble. I think that's A, lazy, and takes away a championship match. So it's kind of cool in one way and kind of in another. That's my take on it. Then you have Rey Mysterio. He cuts a promo talking about his match upcoming with Andrade, trying to get his U.S. Championship back. And that leads into the match. Rey Mysterio versus Andrade. Of course, Zelina Vega is there. And much like a lot of their matches, it was a really damn good match. I think both of these guys are incredibly talented. Rey Mysterio, for almost 50 years old, is timeless. Like, the guy is seriously disageless. You did have your usual spots. You know, you had Zelina Vega. There was one point where Rey Mysterio thought he had the match won. The referee was counting the 3 count. Zelina Vega put Andrade's foot on the rope. Referee sees the foot on the rope. Rey thinks he won. Referee's like, no, foot was on the rope. We got to start the match over. But then it got really clunky at the end. It was really an awkward finish. And there was a spot where Rey Mysterio and Andrade were outside. They're fighting. Zelina Vega is standing right behind both of them. Rey Mysterio is on Andrade's shoulders, and Andrade just kind of chucks Rey Mysterio backwards over his head. Rey Mysterio lands on Zelina Vega. Andrade tries to capitalize, throws Rey Mysterio into the steps, into the ring. Tries to hit the DDT, but it was really, really weird because for some reason, even though Zelina Vega is on the outside and the match is going on inside, the referee literally steps in between Rey Mysterio and Andrade and breaks up the fight for some reason. And then Rey Mysterio goes outside, checks on Zelina Vega, walks back in the ring. Andrade grabs him for the hammerlock again, and there's like a struggle almost for the hammerlock DDT. Eventually, Andrade sets it in and gets the win. But it was just really weird and awkward the way that match ended. It was a good match for the most part, though. Then you get KO, Kevin Owens, and Samoa Joe interview where they're challenging Seth Rollins and the AOP to a match 3-on-3. Samoa Joe knows who the third person is for them. Kevin Owens doesn't. So after commercial, Seth Rollins says it doesn't matter who the third person is, we accept. Then you get the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders versus Gallows and Anderson. This was a really good match. I really like watching the Street Profits. I really like watching the Viking Raiders, and I think the Gallows and Anderson can really add a lot to a match too. They have their good and bad days, but mostly good days. So yeah, the match itself was fine. The Viking Raiders eventually come out when Ivar, I think the big guy's Ivar, the big guy, jumps off the top rope splash onto Carl Anderson, and they retain. Then you get Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe bit 2, where they start asking in the interview Samoa Joe who this third guy is, and then Kevin Owens is like, well, I really want to know too. So Samoa Joe pulls him along and says, all right, I'll show you. So you come back from another commercial, and then you have Samoa Joe telling Kevin Owens to walk in the room, sees whoever's in there. Kevin Owens smiles and says, okay, they better be worried now, basically. And then you get Becky Lynch in the ring. She cuts a promo on Asuka, saying Asuka's had her number, and she really needs to know if she can beat Asuka. Then Asuka, of course, interrupts. She's saying something in Japanese as she's walking down the ramp very slowly, and gets in the ring, and then Becky Lynch nails her and leaves the ring. Then you get Rowan with his cage, his mystery thing in the cage, and Mojo Rawley asks really nicely if he could see what was in the cage. So Rowan lets him. So Rawley takes a peek in the cage and like freaks out, stammers backward, trips over some trunk, and he's like, "What the hell's wrong with you, man?" or something like that. After that, you get Andrade and Zelina in an interview. At some point during the match, Andrade, after he'd won, had attacked Rey Mysterio and taken Rey Mysterio's mask. So Rey Mysterio comes charging without his mask. Of course, his head's to the screen, so you can't see his face. And just goes to absolutely whooping on Andrade. Gets the mask, puts it back on, and continues to whoop Andrade's ass. And it looked like a pretty good beatdown, honestly. Like, he really sold the beatdown. So it was a very good spot. Then you get Rowan versus a local. Again, I can't stand it when they put in these locals, especially these guys that don't weigh 100 pounds soaking wet, going up against somebody 6'6", 300 pounds. I could probably use this guy for a long dart myself. So Rowan gets the win, and then he says, "You want to see what's in the cage?" Rowan went from wanting nobody to see what's in the cage to apparently letting everybody see what's in the cage. So he shoves the guy's face in the cage. He comes back with something red all over his face, and he's screaming and freaking out. So who knows? Then you get AJ Styles versus Akira Tozawa. Tozawa has been basically put in a jobber spot, which kind of sucks because he's definitely more talented than that. AJ had the win pretty quick, but didn't pin him. Instead, he started mocking Randy Orton's moveset, doing the hanging on the double rope, second rope DDT, and eventually pinned him after an RKO. So I liked the fact that they did like the AJ Styles mocking Randy bit, but Akira, a jobber, just doesn't work for me. Then right after that, the guy who played the priest from last week's Raw was here this week, and he was getting in the ring, and security thought it was a fan, and they tackled him inside the ring. And so there was a really bad miscommunication there because the dude should be really pissed, honestly. So yeah, you cut to commercial with security taking this actor down inside the ring. You come back and it's the Bobby Lashley Lana wedding where they just run through it very, very quickly because they already did most of the ceremony last week. So he goes, "You may not kiss the bride, I'm not pronouncing man in life," all that shit. And then Rusev pops up on the Titantron with this like picture of a tropical island behind him on a green screen. It looked terrible. Yeah, Rusev and Bobby Lashley, they have a promo back and forth, and it basically winds up with there's going to be a match between those two next week. And I couldn't give a shit less about this whole segment. This whole thing since its inception has been terrible. Bobby Lashley has been given some of the worst stuff in WWE programming. The whole Three Sisters bit, I forget what they did after that, but there was something that he did that was just horrible. And now this. So Bobby Lashley really hasn't been given a break by WWE, man. He's been just getting garbage. After that, you have R-Truth. He's being interviewed, but quickly gets cut off by Liv Morgan, who says she's going to be in Rusev's corner next week. So fair enough. Charlotte Flair versus Sarah Logan is supposed to be next. Doesn't really ever start. Sarah Logan attacks Charlotte Flair outside the ring. There's a big fight. Logan's whooping on Charlotte Flair, which could have been good. You've got somebody just coming back, build her up a little bit. But instead, Logan grabs Charlotte's robe and starts flinging her around inside the ring. And then that, of course, pisses Charlotte off. Charlotte Flair eventually gets the upper hand. And that was it. That was the whole bit. Then you get No Way Jose versus Drew McIntyre. And I got to admit, man, Drew McIntyre might have been my favorite part of this whole Raw. I really liked him last week, and I really liked him a lot more this week. Drew McIntyre, you're starting to see he's got a sense of humor, which is very cool. But you also see that they might be putting him as a face now, making that transition because he's kind of pandering to the crowd. At the end of the match, he asks the crowd if they want one more Claymore kick. And he's been doing this thing where he does the Claymore kick by counting down like 3, 2, 1, kind of like the Royal Rumble. So it looks like they're kind of using him for that. But this whole thing was just great. When Drew McIntyre first came down to the ring, he's throwing the conga line all over the place, gets in the ring, takes care of No Way Jose. And then he does a promo where he was asking if they want another Claymore kick. But also about like how he hates conga lines, except for the hamburger, he's cool. And does the Claymore kick and then kips up with the microphone still in his hand. He's like, look, I didn't even drop the microphone. You know, just adding some really, it was actually some really funny moments. And then he says he's going to be in the Royal Rumble. So very cool. I really wish they would push Drew McIntyre even more. I would love to see him win the Royal Rumble, to be honest. That would be greatness. Then you get Aleister Black versus Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin is a guy that is incredibly talented and entirely underused. Aleister Black, absolutely amazing. So it was a decent match. It wasn't as good as I thought it actually could be between these two guys. But it was a decent match. Aleister Black, of course, wins. They haven't done much with Shelton. And then Buddy Murphy comes out of nowhere, attacks Aleister Black from behind, gets a few good hits in, throws him into a chair by the timekeeper's table, and then gives him a running knee. So it was a pretty good attack after the match. I like the whole bit. And then you get Rollins and AOP versus Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, and Paul White himself, the Big Show. Some people had a problem with that. I mean, he's been gone for 2 years, pretty much. Actually, I think it's been over 2 years. So, I think that's cool, man. It was nice to see him back in the ring. He's definitely been a staple in WWE for a very, very long time. The dude looked great. So, I really didn't understand some of the hate with it, but whatever. Some people didn't like it. I did. He's a big guy. He definitely sold it like he's dominant. Going up against the AOP and Seth Rollins. It was nice to hear his chest slap that cracks throughout the arena. And at the end of the day, Seth Rollins, you know, he was at a point where he was distracted in the wrong corner, turns around and gets a world weapon of mass destruction punch. And so, Big Show, Kevin Owens, and Samoa Joe win, and that's where they left the show. So, overall, I did really like this show. The match itself between Rey and Andrade was very good. I wasn't a big fan of the ending, but the match itself was great. I liked the Triple Threat Tag Team Championship match with Street Profits, Viking Raiders, Gallows, and Anderson. Drew McIntyre was great. Thought he was funny as hell. I liked the Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy angle. Even the suspense with, kind of trying to figure out who the third person is for Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe. It worked. Some people liked the ending of that with Big Show. Some people didn't. So overall, the main things that I didn't like were the Rusev Lana Bobby Lashley shit. I really don't care about. I just don't. Charlotte and Sarah Logan was kind of whatever. And the Rowan thing I'm kind of just done with by now. So, but overall, it was a good show. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because I feel like it was above average. Not totally great, but pretty good. So, that's where I'm at. 7 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And I'll definitely be more on time for AEW Dark tonight. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz, Kaged Nation. Out.